Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm Jeff.
Thanks for listening to the Stanching Tyranny Hour. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and pull up a chair while we start the march toward liberty.
That doesn't make sense. How does one march while in a chair?
Good question. You can figure it out. You're the engineer.
Well, stay tuned and we'll let you know on 1450 AM WPG.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Glad you could make it. Listening to another Stanching Tyranny Hour this Saturday.
Yeah, glad to be here. We've had a long couple of days. We drove home last night from New York. We had training.
Albany, just north of Albany.
Just north of Albany, Malta, New York. And did the long drive home last night. Got some winks in, and here we are.
Here we are. So we're ready. We're loaded. We're ready to go.
Yeah. Good thing for coffee.
Yeah, well, a real good thing. But I'm in a particularly chipper mood this morning because of what you were telling me on the way in here, how New Jersey ranks third.
Yeah.
On the
should we just start off by congratulating New Jersey for their third place finish?
Yeah,
top three. That's what? That's a bronze medal?
It would be
something
bronze.
Like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, bronze. Not that we have really any experience in receiving medals.
Well, that's true.
Especially for our sports athletic ability. Yeah. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
New Jersey, third place.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd love to hear what callers think we're talking about. If you want to give us a call at 609-407-1450. I've decided I'm not ready to reveal what the third place finish is.
That's what you've decided? You're just going to hold it in
I'm going to exercise a little tyranny here.
Okay.
On Stanching Tyranny.
Right.
And I'm going to withhold that information. And, maybe I'll release it in a way that, makes it look like it's good news.
Well, it is good news.
Makes it look like it's bad news. I have to think about how I want to release it because, I have that control. I have the power. I have the power.
I salute you.
I'm liking
I salute
me. Yes, please. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
So, but there's plenty of other news we could talk about.
True.
Besides that exciting news. You got the UN gun treaty. They got that all wrapped up in a nice bow this week.
I'm not too worried because the Senate voted and they said no to it, right?
That's what happened. Of course, until you read the fine print.
The fine print.
Yeah, the fine print was that was a non-binding vote.
That was one of them there test votes.
That was one of those votes so that they could get news coverage so that Americans can go back to sleep thinking that everything is A-okay.
Right.
That kind of vote.
So that was a non-binding vote that, I guess they just needed something to do that day.
Well, yeah. Well, they're on break now, aren't they?
Are they still on break for...
like spring break or something? What's with spring break, by the way?
Did we ever get spring break?
I don't think so.
Didn't we just have off Good Friday?
I think we did.
Weren't we back to school the Monday after Easter?
I think so.
I think so. I don't think we had the whole week off after
I don't. And now, so what's with grade school kids having quote unquote spring break? Are we supposed to pretend everybody's in college now? Is that what we're supposed to pretend?
Apparently.
And that they need this spring break?
Yeah.
I maintain the only reason there's spring break is for the teachers.
Right.
That's why.
No,
Come on, you can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah.
It's the teachers and the administrators and all that. They're the ones that got up in front of the school boards or whoever it is saying, "Do it for the children, please. What about the children?"
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Hey, I think we have caller Carl probably wants to guess on the third place finish for New Jersey, right, Carl?
Yeah, good morning, Jim and Jeff.
Good morning, Carl.
I know we're number one in. That's more people leaving the state than coming into the
Very
state.
Good. Yes.
Okay, number three, I'm going to guess the least freedom in this.
Very good, Carl. Very good.
Let's hear it for Carl.
All right.
Oh, is that the right answer?
Yeah, you're right on the money.
Okay.
Right on the money.
So, the New Jersey.
It was a guess because I was going to say number three, we're the third most taxed state, but I'm not sure if that was number three in that.
We probably are.
We probably are.
If we're not number three, we're probably better than that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
But
and if we're not, Senator Whalen, our senator in our second district here, he's trying to make us number one.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the overall freedom ranking for 2011. This is in a report called The Politics of Freedom, put out by, I think it's Georgetown University. And New Jersey is third from the bottom.
Right, and we're trying to make us probably number one there, too, because we have such strict gun laws, and they're trying to make them even stricter.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
They sure are.
Just to put this in perspective for you, Carl, if you assume that the average is a score of 0, the average freedom level of 0, New Jersey came in at negative 78.8%.
All right.
So we even still have some room, Carl, to take more freedoms away.
Yeah.
That we could get to 100%, pretty quick here. We're almost there. We're about 80, we'll call it. 80% tyranny, 20% freedom. But, we're and here's what we got to do. This is something, we can't let this slide by. We're being beat by California.
Yes, we are.
California is at 85.8% tyranny.
Okay.
And New York, now this is what really gets me. New York is kicking our butt. They're at 150.
Holy moly.
I didn't think you could even go over 100, but somehow New York did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so either.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they did, and I think we as New Jerseyans got to band together and do something about this.
So just think about it.
So settle for third.
I agree. I was hoping the NRA would come in and sue the heck out of the state, and we can be like most of the other states where you would take your driver's license, go to a gun store, say, I like that one right there, and they say, okay, we'll do the national background check right now.
A couple minutes.
And, and you pay your fee for that because there's a fee involved in that. And then they say, okay, you can take that baby home with you. But no, not in this state. You guys have your ID card? No? Okay, well, we'll tell you how you do it. Not an easy thing.
And you need that to buy your a BB gun, too.
Oh, of course.
You
can shoot your eye out.
Yeah, isn't it?
You can shoot your eye out, Carl.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yep.
And now I don't even think they shoot, they shoot little plastic BBs, I think.
Yeah, the airsoft guns. Yeah.
Right.
Plastic ones. Yeah. But imagine being somebody from New York. They would move to New Jersey and think they're in Shangri-La or something.
They would.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
like Carl said, people aren't moving into New Jersey, are they?
No.
No, more are moving out than are moving in.
Yeah.
And people are retiring. We'll say school teachers, we'll throw them out, and they'll say, it's too expensive to live here. I'm moving, tax-free Delaware, or they're moving to Florida. And there's our Senator Jim Whalen. 5 cents for every bag, because they do that in the District of Columbia, where our president is, sometimes he's there. And his stupid mileage bill, where if you get a vehicle that gets 40 miles to the gallon, so roughly instead of paying 14.5 cents, you're going to pay 40 cents a gallon road tax.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about the government. See, is because you accept a set of rules and you set up your life around this set of rules, and then next day you wake up and what's happened? The rules change.
Sure.
Isn't that great?
That's the way it goes. All right, Carl, let us let you
go.
I'm
gonna it's a really nice sunny day out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even though I like to see you in there an extra hour, like 2 hours, but you guys have a good weekend.
Thank you, Carl.
Too, Carl.
So Carl mentioned a couple of states there. Let's see, Delaware. Where is Delaware on the list here? Delaware came in at 17. Now that's 17 from the top. So
okay,
so
one of the
17th most free state.
Okay.
Carl also mentioned Florida there. They came in at 23rd.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, Washington D.C. isn't on the list. They didn't include Washington D.C.
Huh.
I guess they wouldn't because
it's not really a state.
Yeah. Right. And they make all the rules.
Right.
Anyway,
that's true.
Yeah, so interesting report. If you want to check it out, overall freedom ranking in the Politics of Freedom report. I think this is the 3rd annual report.
So New York was dead last in freedom. And who was first? I'm sure listeners are wondering who.
Good question.
Who first was.
First on the list was North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yep. Second on the list was South Dakota. They were very close scores.
Sounds cold.
Yeah, right. Number 3 was Tennessee.
Okay.
Which that kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought Tennessee, you know, when I hear Tennessee, I think the TVA and all the world improving that the Roosevelt administration did. And it pretty much, Tennessee was like, you know, ground zero for, you know, world improving.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway. And number 4 is New Hampshire.
Okay, they have the Free State Project up there.
They do. That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. And rounding up the top 5 is Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know. I think you're mixing a
Am I mixing
songs.
up
You're mixing that. No, that's that Green Acres.
Green Acres.
You're mixing.
I am.
You're mixing songs.
That's pretty fun.
Let's take another call. We have Andrea from Summers Point calling in. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Jim and Jeff. And speaking of tyranny, and I'm not going to speak of Kim Jong-un, but how about the tyranny from the New Jersey Education Association? What they bear down on us. They ask us to vote every year on a budget, and we all vote as citizens, especially if you are a property tax payer. And who would want to vote them? I want to pay more. And so it gets voted down every time, and then they go to the city council and they get the money anyway.
Right,
so why don't you ask me to go out and vote?
Yeah, well, I always vote no for school budgets.
Yeah, well,
that's
the humorous, Andrea, right? They have to make us feel like that we have a say, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then they do what they want anyway.
Right. And it goes that way all the way up the chain.
You know, it's funny that you brought that up, speaking of tyranny, and because, my parents were tyrants. Here I was away at college, and I asked my parents if I could go away for spring break, and they told me, your whole life has been a break. All right, so far.
That's pretty tyrannical.
Your life's been a break on everything. Tuition, board, wait till you make mortgage, car payments, car insurance, utility payments.
Yeah.
No, you're not, okay?
And
also, what you brought up, which was really mind-boggling, is why don't the teachers strike during the winter solstice or Christmas break or spring break and that horrible summer they have off? They always wait till like September 9th.
Yeah,
Andrea, that's their time off.
Right.
They wouldn't want to do that, Andrea.
No.
Why,
no, they work hard the rest of the year.
Let me be the devil's advocate, all right? First of all, if there weren't teachers, who would be our lifeguards?
Good question.
Good point. Right.
That's a good question.
The whole lifeguard industry.
Yeah. And well, because they're too afraid to hire kids to do it nowadays, right?
You can't do that like you used
Jim
to.
Whalen, and then they got. Can you believe that? You talk about part-time tyranny, and then they get a pension for sitting there putting zinc oxide on their nose and blowing on a whistle.
Yeah, in Atlantic City, it's like a whole thing, isn't it?
It's probably unionized and everything in Atlantic City, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but it is tyranny, and it's trickle up tyranny. But really, I mean, and then the other thing I like is also when the teachers have these huge conventions, like to learn how to teach better, and but again, why don't they do it during all these? I mean, it's got to be a terrible job when you're done at 3 o'clock.
Well,
and, you don't even have to mark papers anymore because basically most of your kids aren't even showing up.
It's funny you should mention that, Andrew, because if I remember correctly, this year's convention was canceled for some reason. I don't remember what.
Was it the hurricane or something?
No, I don't think it was the hurricane.
The hurricane that never came?
Yeah, and they canceled it. Well, okay, why didn't they have them,
They didn't work. They still had off.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you ask a teacher, they'll make it sound like they're working.
You brought up Tennessee. I forget what state it is, but they're saying that it's passed by their assembly and state that if your kids are like flunking, they're really getting bad grades, like I did in college. No wonder I didn't get to go to Florida. But if your kids show up and they don't want to do anything, they're troublemakers, then they're going to slice your welfare 30%. Now, do you think that's tyranny?
Well, my idea of tyranny is the fact that they're getting welfare in the first place. But
right,
a
place to live.
Yeah,
what's so funny is we went out to. God forbid you try to do something like switch phones from Comcast to AT&T. I mean, you go out to this place and you see these people obviously, excuse me, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're spending $300 on a phone. Well, you can afford all that kind of stuff if you don't have to pay for your rent. You don't have to pay for your heat. It's all on our backs. It's just amazing because I just looked at, again, look at your utility bills and look what these charges are. And then you've got these people driving a Cadillac with a $6,000, hair weave in. And my husband and I are over there, in our used car, just trying to switch over to AT&T. So I finally said to the girl at AT&T, I said, do you have one of those applications for one of those free Obama phones? And she looked at me like lobsters, crawling out of my ears. I said, seriously, where do you get one of those? Because what I understand is, we don't sell them here. I said, you talk about tyranny, Jeff and Jim. Don't I get that? Oh, that's right, I'm married to a man, and we somewhat own a home, probably about 27 years.
Yeah, or at least 80% or 20% of a home.
20%,
well,
right.
When we started, instead of going back to medical school, we should have just gone back to the Jim Whalen School of being a lifeguard and a swim teacher at Atlantic City High School. And then when he voted to close the casinos down for 3 days, and the feedback I got, that was only one vote. I only get one vote, okay? Yeah. And then now he wants to put a 5-cent tax on plastic bags when you go grocery shopping. $1 on each mile that you drive. That's not tyranny.
It's clear to me, Andrea.
People will vote him back in. But how about this one? This had to be the best. When he and his cohorts raised the sales tax from 6% to 7%, you know what the genius said? It's only 1 penny.
1 penny.
What do you care?
Yeah, sure.
That's 17%.
Yeah, right.
Everybody doesn't teach math.
That's the way they do it.
All right, guys.
All right, Andrea.
Enjoy your weekend.
Have a good weekend.
But see, that's what happens. See, and Andrea mentioned, the school grade requirements to get the welfare.
Right.
Well, listen,
that's not the issue.
That's not the issue. Number one, if it were up to me, there would be no welfare.
Right.
It's that simple. But number two, if you're signing up for a government program in which money is taken from me and given to you, well, that's a chance you take, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, the point is that Andrea shouldn't have to pay for anybody other than herself and her family.
Correct.
No, regardless of what the grades are.
Right?
I mean, really. Yeah. But I gotta say hats off to Mr. Whalen for, he's clearly upset about this ranking.
Yeah, he wants us to get
he wants
us
to be
to number one.
The first worst, in the country, and he's going to do his part to make sure it happens.
Well, that's obvious.
And,
that's obvious.
I say, that's a man with a mission right
there. Yeah.
That's great.
So maybe Mr. Whalen, maybe the drain of good, productive members of society will continue to be out of New Jersey thanks to your help. And then you can get that number nice and high up there with
And why stop at 150 like New York?
Well, yeah,
why not 200?
Right? Why not? You set a goal and you just work towards it.
All.
That's what he's doing. But we have a Republican governor here in New Jersey.
Right.
Don't forget, the freedom-loving, small government conservative, Chris Christie.
Maybe that's why we only came in third.
Maybe his diabolical schemes to make us free.
Yeah, that must be it.
For some reason, I don't think that's it.
Oh,
I don't think that's
a
it.
shame.
But here in the we have bigger fish to fry too. We got the UN gun treaty.
Now that is a big fish.
That's a big fish.
How do you cook a fish that big?
Well, apparently, very slowly and in the dark of night. Because that's basically when these things happen, and that will likely be when the Senate will ratify it, right?
But wait! They've already voted.
Yeah, that was.
They had the test vote.
Yeah, well,
that was just to show us, to reassure us that they won't stand for this attack on our Second Amendment.
Well, that vote is like the budget.
Mm-hmm.
The budget everybody's crowing about, and budget this and budget that. The funny thing about the budget
is not binding.
It's not binding. Number one, and number two. How is it that we give over, and we'll get into this next week because next week is but really, we hand over our money, not voluntarily, although the IRS will tell you it's a voluntary tax.
Right.
We get it forcefully taken from us at the barrel of a gun and spent in this budget in whatever means they see fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the whole idea of a budget is ludicrous as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not too worried about the UN gun treaty because we got states like New Hampshire, the live free or die state.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got Connecticut there. That's the Constitution state.
Oh, yeah.
So clearly, the Constitution state, they got it. They're going to stick to the letter of the Constitution.
Sure they are.
And not violate it. You know, to them, it's probably black and white.
Oh, yeah. I would think.
Violate the Constitution? If so, then forget it. We're not doing it.
You also got,
and then you got the free state of Maryland. Yeah. And I'm sure there's others. I can't think of them offhand, but I'm not worried about it. I think,
Yeah,
sure.
because these states will surely be apt to uphold their namesake.
Their namesake, sure.
And make sure that they live by their motto.
Right.
Isn't that what a motto is for?
To give you some sort of guidance to direct your path. Yeah.
Right.
I would think. I mean, for Runnymede Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, Electric, our motto is emergencies don't take time off, neither do we. So that's what helps us make decisions on, what to do, how to operate.
Sure.
Does this action comply with that motto? And I'm sure states do the same thing, don't they?
Yeah, I would hope.
Yeah.
But apparently not.
Oh.
Not, at least not in Connecticut and Maryland and all those states. I don't even know what New York's
Isn't that just the
live here and shut up, I think, might be there.
Probably.
Live
shut
here,
up and sit down.
Yeah,
that's
something like
probably
that. Or no, that's North Carolina or South Carolina.
South Carolina, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah. But here's some more news. We got the currency war going on here in the world.
Yeah.
So Japan, right? Japan is basically flooding the world market with yen.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they came out and said that, listen, we're just pulling out all the stops to get rid of this here deflation.
Yeah, they want some inflation.
They want inflation.
What do they want, like 2%, like what we always say is great
That's
inflation?
Their goal, yeah. So just to put that in perspective, they're printing 70 trillion yen this year.
That's a lot of yen.
Yeah. Then they're going to print another 70 trillion yen next year.
Right. So that's 140 trillion yen. What's the existing money supply already in circulation?
138 trillion yen. So by the end of next year, it will be 270 trillion yen.
Wow.
I think
double it.
I think Japan's going to succeed in their goal, but they might overshoot it.
Well, you have to understand what this means. I mean, when the central bank takes these kinds of measures, the money goes to the elite first.
Correct.
And the elite uses that money to get some pre-inflationary great deals. Right? Because they can use this money that's freshly minted, and they can go and buy assets that are based on the current money supply, current price, right?
Right.
All right, so these purchases take place when what happens? It pushes up prices.
The asset prices.
Yeah. The problem then is the trickle down is...
By the time it gets to you and me...
what has happened?
Those asset prices have gone up grossly.
Right. And we're forced to pay for those assets
at an inflated price.
With post-inflationary
which means those dollars...
Or yen in this case.
...are worth less.
Right.
Right.
So it's a transfer of wealth, and it's a tax.
It's a transfer of wealth upward.
Upward, absolutely.
So what's going to happen is initially the Japanese people are going to be thinking this is a great idea.
Yeah, because the Nikkei will go up, and it'll look good.
Housing prices will go up, and it'll be this is A-okay.
Right.
Until the average Japanese can't afford food and clothing and things to take care of their home,
Fuel.
a home in the first place, right? Because they're priced out of the market because of the inflation that's sure to run away.
Right.
And then reality sets in, right? It's a huge transfer of wealth because just like Jeff said, the elite get to buy the assets first at a discount, and by the time that trickles down to the average Japanese person, it's just all upside down.
Yeah.
It's all upside down.
And make no mistake, this action is a response.
Right.
It's a response to our policies.
Yeah. So, because we're already doing our fair share of the bond buying and money printing, 80 billion a month, I believe it is.
Yeah, we're increasing our money supply.
Yeah.
That affects their ability to export cheaply, or relatively cheaply, I should say.
Yeah.
So how do they have to respond? Well, they have to respond in kind. They have to keep up the printing so that the exchange rate either stays the same, or goes in their favor.
Yeah, and don't make no mistake, our Federal Reserve is going to do the same thing. Why? Well, just look at the unemployment numbers from this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The unemployment numbers is right there. Now, of course, on the broadcast media, the big story is unemployment rate dropped. That's baloney. Nothing dropped.
Yeah.
It didn't drop. They were anticipating close to 200,000 jobs created during the month. 200,000 during the month of March.
For March, right.
Right? You know what the number was? 88,000. 88,000 jobs created. It's not even enough to keep up with the rate of population growth.
Right.
So
but unemployment went down.
Yeah. Well, the only reason unemployment went down is because people drop off the state unemployment rolls. So the question is, okay, where are they going? Well, I'll tell you where they're going. The federal disability rolls. That's where they're going.
Yeah, a report came out this week that the number of Americans on disability went up for the 194th straight month.
Yeah.
194 months. How?
That's
what's that? That's a lot of years, right?
Yeah.
15,
something like that.
What's my math? Get out my calculator.
Yeah,
Something. That's
a lot of years.
Yeah.
It just keeps going up and up and up.
And as a result, we only have, based on real employment numbers, we only have 13 full-time workers paying for each individual on disability.
Yeah, where in the 60s it was like 57 or something like that.
Yeah. So what does that do to an economy?
Well,
is that healthy?
No, of course it's not healthy. And so what happens when the inflation gets out of control and those payments are worth less or worth less, right? So we have this unemployment that's a complete sham when they report this 7.6%, when in reality, what we really need to look at is the workforce participation rate.
Right.
And that's at a 30-year low.
Now, the workforce participation rate
it's a real simple number.
Yeah.
Out of the population that's able to work, what percentage are actually working?
Okay.
That number is 63.3%. 63.3%. Now, I'm no mathematician, but that sounds like it's awful close to 40% of people not working.
Right.
Is that a healthy economy? So we're supposed to believe that we're in some sort of recovery, right?
Yeah.
And yet, we have less people in the workforce participating than from 1979.
Wow.
1979.
Yeah. Well, we were what, 10 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is amazing. And the issue is how long can this go on? Right?
Yeah.
When you have 13 people working, paying into a fund to pay for one person on disability, when that ratio should be much higher.
Yeah.
How is it going to keep going on? The only way they can keep it going on is to make it look as if everything's fine. And how do they do that? They do that by printing money.
Right.
It goes back into the old, stanching tyrannies from last week and the week before, Cyprus, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all related.
Absolutely. And I have some good news, for us Americans here. The White House is pushing lenders to make home loans available to people with weaker credit.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the people on disability would qualify for a loan?
Yeah, I would guess.
I think if the White House has anything to do with it.
Oh, yeah, because they'll consider a government government payment as quote-unquote guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I have a quote from the Washington Post here. Says, President Obama's economic advisors and outside experts say the nation's much-celebrated housing rebound is leaving too many people behind, including young people looking to buy their first homes.
These are the young people that can't even find a job.
Those young people. Right. And individuals with credit records weakened by the recession. Housing officials are urging the Justice Department to provide assurances to banks, which have become increasingly cautious. Why? Well, they want to get paid back. Right. But don't you worry, listeners. The federal government is going to guarantee these loans, and, you know, the banks are too big to fail. So if somebody doesn't pay their mortgage, don't worry. You'll pay their mortgage.
Yeah, yeah. And that's how it works.
Does this sound familiar,
it sounds real familiar.
Does this sound something like what was going on back in the mid-2000s,
Didn't President Bush have a speech along those lines?
Something like that, yeah.
That you know, we have to have...
he was Republican, I think.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, he was. He had
a Democrat. Right. He's saying the same thing. That's weird.
Oh, you're not proposing that there's really no difference, are you?
No, I'm just kind of thinking
talk.
Out loud.
That's just crazy talk.
Everybody knows that if you're a Republican, then you're a fiscally responsible, conservative, small government individual. Right. So I probably have my facts mixed up.
You're almost making it sound like there's some overriding grand conspiracy of, like, I don't know, like the Council of Foreign Relations really runs the whole show.
No, don't be
No matter who's in the... You're making it sound like that when we vote, it really doesn't matter who we vote for.
Of course it matters, yeah. Because, you know, we want our guy to win.
Yeah.
And if our guy wins, then we're all happy.
Have you ever noticed that, by the way? When you listen to, like, news stories or you know, commentary on the radio or wherever it is, like they talk about, like, the election season.
Yeah.
And they say, like, well, their team and our team, right?
Yeah.
They make it sound
it's like football season.
Exactly.
Baseball season.
So here, let me ask you this. If you're watching a football game and you're rooting for a team, and the other team wins, how does it affect your life?
Oh, it's miserable.
How does it affect your life, though?
Well, it doesn't affect my life.
In any meaningful way, right?
In any meaningful way. I might be all bummed out.
Right.
But, you know, really.
And there you have it. There's the American election system in a nutshell. Right? Your guy doesn't win, you get a little bummed out, but it really doesn't matter.
There you go. Perfect. And we got a couple calls here. Let's go to Tony. Good morning, Tony.
How you doing, guys?
Good. Hi, Tony. How are you?
You know, I don't know what you're so upset about. I mean, Obama's giving back 5% of his salary toward back to the government.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, for the whole month.
Why are you so upset? He's contributing. He's doing his share. He's so upset with the sequester, you know, that he's giving back 5% of his salary.
What a guy.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
What are Malia and Sasha going to do?
5% of his salary went to his basketball lessons, you know, so he could sink a basket now and then. You know?
Right. Well, you know, it appears that he should probably spend that 5% on something else anyway. Don't you agree, Tony?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, he's doing such a great bang-up job, isn't he? You know, I wonder if you took all the money this bozo spent on trips on Air Force One and that, you could probably settle the national debt, couldn't you?
Well,
what this guy spent.
Well, you almost could, but and then you have the apologists that say, well, it's such a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. And besides, we want our president to have a clear head and be able to make the decisions to lead the world.
Don't worry about that, gentlemen. It's definitely clear. There's nothing up there. But
that's true.
You know, I hate to upset Carl. I might have to switch my vote over to Jim Whalen because he's he's trying to do something for the local region. I understand he's lobbying to get a factory that makes plastic shopping bags and a plant that makes shrimp treadmills.
That's a great idea.
For that, yes.
That'll do something
for the region.
It'll do something for the economy.
That would be great. Could you see the economy picking up then if
it would be a boom.
Gets this passed?
And just think of the quality of the shrimp we'll get in the supermarket, Tony.
Oh, absolutely.
What's bigger than a jumbo
shrimp? When you go to buy a bag of shrimp, you'd say, if you and your brother went there and bought a bag of the shrimp, you'd say, boy, look at the muscles on that shrimp.
Right.
Look at the biceps on that shrimp.
Yeah, and then I would get all that extra protein in my system, so I would be healthy. That Jim Whalen's A-okay.
He is A-okay.
I don't know why everybody's complaining.
Oh, here we go.
We're too hard on him.
How many times have we all heard that on the radio? Well, he's a nice guy. I don't care. I don't care if he. I don't care if he's the nicest guy in the world. He's a lousy. He's a lousy senator. He's been slopping at the trough for years and years and years. And I understand Jim Whalen, though he is going to take a page out of Obama's book. He's going to take 5% off of his 4 pensions and donate them back to the state too.
That's nice of him. But don't worry, Tony. He'll just get a fifth.
Here's something funny. In yesterday's current Pleasantville school budget calls for 16.4% tax rate hike. Now,
wow.
The school board voted it down, gentlemen. Are you ready for this? How much the budget is for the tiny little hamlet of Pleasantville over here?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Ready.
$87.8 million.
Holy moly.
Wow, that's clearly not enough. You got to spend more money on the children.
Do you have about the most?
We have a state monitor over here. James Ryman is his name. He voted it down. He has the final approval, saying it's a good budget because it contains money for much-needed capital improvements and projects to promote student improvement.
You must have the smartest kids on earth over there in Pleasantville.
Well, they're so smart. That's why we have 36 different languages, and we've had going into this year. They haven't appointed a new one yet. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? Take a sip of your coffee.
Right, here we go.
We will have, as of this year, 16 superintendents in 16 years, gentlemen.
Wow.
That'd be like if the Phillies had 16 managers in 16 years.
Yeah. Wow.
They're doing such a great job.
They probably need a pay raise.
The school board votes it down, say it's bloated with overspending, and the state monitor takes over and says, we may even find a little bit more money.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
But Tony, why do you have to hate the children so much?
Yeah, it's only 16
I know. I want to take their Jell-O away on their lunch break.
Yeah.
I want, hide their backpacks on them, and when they're playing kickball in the schoolyard, I want to poke a hole in the ball.
Yeah.
And,
you're just awful. You're just awful.
Absolutely terrible. I don't know. It's going to take me a whole week to recover to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Maybe I'll be calmed down by then.
All right, Tony.
All right, guys.
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And you need another hour, too, like Carl.
Yeah, amen.
All right,
Thanks,
have a good one, guys.
You too. Yeah, so 16%. That is crazy.
That's 16 cents. It's like Andrea said. Only a penny, right?
Yeah, it's only
16 pennies.
Yeah, it's less than a cup of coffee a day.
That's less. What can you get even for 16 cents
these
days?
Isn't 16 cents worth it to allow a child to become president one day?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
No price is too high.
Right.
Yeah.
None.
So we were talking about currency. I just want to get back to the currency thing.
Yeah.
Because last week we talked about the BRIC nations, Brazil, India. They're
Russia.
doing deals with China to exchange in renminbi. Is that what it is? Renminbi?
Yeah.
And
That's Chinese currency.
Yeah. Not to be outdone, the Bank of England. The Bank of England, Fed Governor Mervyn King, visited Beijing, and they made an agreement with the People's Bank of China to establish a reciprocal 3-year renminbi/sterling currency swap rate.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that great?
So, again, we're cutting out the U.S. dollar.
This is the Bank of England.
Yeah.
If I remember my history correctly, aren't we like allies with them or something?
We are.
Like
and
that.
the Federal Reserve is modeled after the Bank of England.
Huh, that's
and,
interesting.
In fact, we have much closer ties to England than people would ever dream. But see, for the elite, that doesn't matter. See, they don't really care. So
they don't care about allegiances.
No.
Well, they care about the
money and power.
Money.
Sure. So if the Bank of England making this arrangement with China is a big sign.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right?
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, so they made a deal with Iran. Who cares?
Right.
So they made a deal with India.
Who cares?
All right, Brazil. Well, Brazil's in our hemisphere.
Yeah.
We're starting to get a little pushy there.
Right.
But really, who cares?
Right.
Bank of England?
Yeah.
Maybe
it's time to sit up and take notice, listeners, because the more the dollar gets cut out of these transactions means the more dollars are going to end up where?
Well, furthermore, it illustrates that there is no allegiance by our banks. The Federal Reserve holds no allegiance to the U.S. of A.
No.
That's clear.
Oh, yeah.
That's clear. I mean, because for all we know, these deals are being done. They've been being done in the range. I mean, we're just hearing about it now.
Yeah, well, when we've heard about it, they've been talking
about it. The Federal Reserve is in on this, and they won't lose, right? We will lose. Americans will lose.
Sure.
But the banks will not lose.
No.
That's
definitely
for sure.
not the Federal Reserve banks.
We have a caller in Absecon. Mary Lou, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Obama is proposing changes to cut Social Security benefits of $1,000 a year for the 85-year-olds and smaller cuts for the younger retirees.
Yeah.
With this in mind, isn't this proposal helping the Republicans? Because a lot of Democrats are children of the 85-year-old seniors, and I believe they're going to be turned off, and they'll never vote Democrat again. I think it's good he proposed this. Do you?
Well, I think that these proposals are moving along to the grander scheme. Social Security can't continue as it is. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe Social Security is an entitlement, because we're forced to pay into it via our personal payroll contributions and that matching contribution of our employer. So this whole thing about the Obama budget and cuts to Social Security, it's all political theater. Frankly, I think they need to cut Social Security. I think they will cut Social Security. I think people our age and younger won't see a dime of Social Security, and if we do, it'll be inflated away at such a huge amount that it really won't matter as an income stream.
Yeah.
So,
but I have to agree with you, Mary Lou, that it would be good for the Republicans. But make no mistake, they want these cuts too.
Yeah.
They absolutely want these cuts too, just for different reasons. The Republicans want to cut social programs so that they can spend the money on militarism.
Right.
And the Democrats want to cut programs so that they can spend the money on crony capitalism
and spread it out towards other people and other constituencies.
Yeah, so they.
Yeah, I already know that. What I'm talking about is the anger part of it, to destroy Obama and to let him lose votes. I know what you're saying is true, but what I'm thinking is in the direction of the anger. We won't vote. Some of the children are maybe mad about it, because he did promise when he was running in 2008 that he would never touch it. So this way, you got something to get angry about.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I'm thinking. I know what you're saying. Of course, is correct. Everything you say is correct.
Well, the thing that we have to watch is that, frankly, I think the whole idea is to promote and prompt an economic collapse.
Yeah.
I think they want an economic collapse.
Yeah.
So what better way than to strip away these benefits, these income streams from people that need them, that they've gotten accustomed to? What better way to get people onto the streets protesting and that sort of thing so that they can really crack down and implement things that they wouldn't be able to implement otherwise.
Yeah.
Things like guns confiscations and martial law, things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's all part of the plan. I really do.
Yeah, you make sense, that's for sure. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks, Mary Lou.
Thank you for calling. Yeah, it's classic problem reaction solution, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is nothing that they do that isn't already thought out and planned
for years.
And if, for all we know, Mary Lou, they've already decided that they want a Republican president next time around. Yeah. They've probably already picked the person.
Sure.
And are, grooming them. I mean, if you look at Obama's rise to the presidency, that was clear that that's what happened. Yeah. He was selected a long time ago, and the powers that be made it happen.
Yeah.
Let's take another call. We have Frank and Margate. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Frank.
Hey, guys. Good morning. I think the most frustrating thing for me is that people are satisfied with just getting scraps from the government. And if people realize if we didn't have to pay all these regulations and taxes and could save our own money without having it's the idea like income tax. Like you pay income tax and you get your own money back.
Right.
And you file it. It's just like, to me, and I said it before and I'll say it again, it's the same thing with Atlantic City. It's a big money laundering scam. Mm-hmm. They pay money into Atlantic City. Atlantic City sends to Trenton. It gets washed through. And the frustrating part for me is it's so easy to figure out. I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm a working guy. I'm an electrician. And I can see, how corrupt and easy it is to figure out. I mean, let me ask you a question. If I would have asked you on September 12th, 2001, if we would have elected a guy named Obama, would you have thought it would have happened?
I just said never.
Oh, yeah. The last Right.
And I say that to people, and I said, well, what if we elected a guy with a middle name named Hitler or Adolf? I said, everybody got caught up, and they all thought this guy was the second coming, and he was just a politician.
Right.
The same old guy that went in there with no money, lived off his wife, and now they've done such a good job of neutralizing the system, the electoral system, that we've become neutralized as far as a base. They already. I mean, you shouldn't come down to just, who Karl Rove says should be our best candidate, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's even local.
Yep.
It's. I don't think the whole system was ever set up to be this way. That it comes down to just two parties or two people.
No, of course it wasn't.
You're exactly right, Frank. And really, this all has about 100-year history. Yeah. It all started. And we'll be getting into this next week because next week is income tax weekend. Isn't that great? So we'll be getting into that next week. But just it all really started 100 years ago with the Federal Reserve. But Americans.
Roosevelt and Wilson.
Yeah,
Roosevelt and Woodrow Wilson.
Exactly.
With the one world government.
Exactly. And Americans, we sold our individual sovereignty. We sold it down the river in the guise of services and payments and wealth distribution, redistribution.
Right.
All that we've given away our individual liberties. And we now have this behemoth of a system that is just so entwined in our lives. You can't even wake up in the morning without breaking a law.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is look at the education system, how many tentacles that has.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's sickening.
Since when did FEMA, I think I heard one of the news film about the Department of Homeland Security had something to do with home loans. Well, what do they have to do with home loans?
Exactly. It's all intertwined, and it's all about control, and we have to resist it as much as we can.
As much as possible.
Absolutely,
thanks for the call, Frank.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah, guys.
So
Frank had it right, though. I mean, we earn a living, right? It's like this. Let's say you are a farmer and you grow wheat, you make your flour, you make a loaf of bread. Well, what happens is that loaf of bread gets stolen from you by the government.
Right.
And then they slice it up and they give it to their cronies and the people on welfare. And then they send you back in a little envelope once a year. They send you back some crumbs.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Frank's talking about.
And what drives me crazy, and we'll be talking about it again next week, but what drives me crazy is a week from now, roughly, you know, it'll be all over the news. They'll have the lines at the post office saying, why did you procrastinate? And they'll say, I just thought that, I wanted to get the last minute. And then they'll interview the people that say, this is the price I gotta pay to live free. What? Yeah. Live free? Right. Have you ever taken an honest look? Live free, and you have to send in your pound of flesh on top of what got extracted from you by force during the whole course of the year.
And like Frank said, if you're lucky, you might get some scraps back once a year. Yeah. And we have another call. Let's go to Al in Atlantic City. Good morning, Al.
Morning, Al.
Good morning. With the modern technology and trying to get your mind around all the stuff that's coming out now, and the nano technology, genetic engineering, it gets pretty after a while pretty confusing. But I just came up with, found out yesterday, it's something I just cannot possibly understand, and I need your help on it because I'm sure you guys can figure it out. But what is they are now giving contraceptives to young teenage girls, and they don't have to contact the family or anything else. They just do it. But it's because they need emergency contraceptives. Mm-hmm. What is an emergency contraceptive? That when you're in the back seat of the car, and all of a sudden you have to run out and say it's an emergency and I got to get it.
Yeah, it's an abortion pill basically, right? And the fact is the globalists want population control, right? So they wrap it up in this pretty little package and make it
call it reproductive rights or whatever,
and pro-choice and this and that to make it seem like you have control when in reality you're doing what they wanted you to do in the first place. Yeah. And they indoctrinate the kids that way in the schools. In the budget that Obama's going to be presenting next week is now they're going to be having this all-day kindergarten for four-year-olds? 4-year-olds.
Yeah. And Al, I don't know if you've seen this story, very much related. Planned Parenthood is coming out and saying that a woman should be able to kill
her newborn
baby if she wants to. And that's really, it's just an abortion. It's just kind of a very late-term abortion. But that should be just fine. Right. This is population control. It's genocide is what it is, because just by coincidence, I guess, or by design, Planned Parenthood is deeply rooted in sections of the country that are impoverished, and they sell this as some sort of benefit to those poor people that have no clue what's being done to them.
Yeah, if you want some interesting reading, Al, do a Google search about Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah,
and
I know some of that.
Yeah, and she was one of the most...
I went to Washington years ago for a protest, abortion protest, and I can honestly say, and I'm not saying this to down anybody. I want to bring a fact out that I did not see one. I mean, one. Now there probably were because there were several 100,000 people there, but nowhere's around where I was. I didn't see one black person in there. And the sad part about it is that the contraceptives, the abortion is rampant within the black community. Yeah. So they're killing their own race. Out.
Interesting.
They're limiting their own race.
Here's an interesting fact, Alf. If you do some research, you'll find this out. It's very telling. Abortion was illegal in this country, and what was happening is white women were getting abortions naturally illegally. But black women weren't. Their standard, they didn't want to break the law, and so the rate of black abortions was very low compared to white.
Yeah, it was much higher among the white population.
Yeah, and then what happened is they legalized abortion, and what happened then? Well, the black population now actively participates and is the majority of the abortions that are taking place, and it's all by design. It's genocide.
Yeah, and Margaret Sanger.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and Margaret
and you can't get through to them to realize it.
Margaret Sanger said so in her own writings from the time when Planned Parenthood was founded.
Yeah.
Basically, that she wanted to control the black race and control its propagation, and Planned Parenthood was a way to do that.
Yeah, and I want to say, it's painful to listen to this stuff and talk about it. And Al, thank you for calling, but it's a fact. And if you do the research and look into it, it's a sad fact. It's a stain on the fabric of this country that was founded on Christian values, on loving and God-fearing values that are virtually gone.
Yeah.
And it brings a tear to my eye.
And the only way we're going to get away from it is to get back to our individual liberties. That's the only way, and push government out of it.
It can be done, and it will be done.
Yep.
And you can be a part of it.
We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.